Originally, I was going to make an edited video about Boa Hancock being wasted in the New World, but I decided that for the sake of actually being able to make it, because a lot of times I write scripts and I don't come back to them, or I write some big part of it and then just walk away from it. And if I do end up editing it and it doesn't get that many views, I feel kind of shortchanged. Like, oh, all this effort for nothing. So I decided I'll just do a video where I talk off the cuff, and hopefully that'll get some views. And if it doesn't, well, hey, it is what it is. Um, Boa is probably, you could make an argument, and I'm just going off of the ones in my head. Probably my favorite One Piece character that's not a Straw Hat. So out of the original seven Straw Hats, Hancock, Big Mom, Reiju, Perona, um, Jory Bonnie, and then also Rebecca. Those are the characters who would, if you ask me my favorite character was or favorite characters, it would always be some rotation of those. Those first seven Straw Hats from Luffy to Robin, and then the other characters I mentioned there. But I really like Hancock because she has unique powers, a backstory I find interesting, a position I find interesting, um, and just I could make a whole video about why I love the character. Obviously, an attractive design. I think no one's gonna contest that. Um, but one of the things I liked about her during Marineford and just that whole Summit War saga was her dynamic with Luffy, this character who's never shown any attraction to women really at all. Now has the most beautiful one attracted to him, and you really get the sense that they're both these confused people. Like, he's oblivious to her feelings for him, but she's also oblivious to just basic understandings of romantic relationships. Like thinking that he's gonna marry her because he said her name, or just stuff like that. It was fun. I found the dynamic to be very refreshing in a series that her and Sanji both make me really complimentary of Oda as a writer. They're characters who, in a series that's not about love, openly display romantic affection for other characters. And even if their love is unrequited, it still goes a long way in making them act differently from the rest of the cast and stand out. That's why a lot of times when I was reading One Piece with my brother, and I would have some line where whoever is on panel is saying, "I'll protect you, Nami." My brother could always tell I was reading Sanji's lines because he has a distinct voice. So when I read Marineford for the first time, and or rather concluded that arc, I was very excited to see not only Luffy reunite with the Straw Hats, but also see how Hancock would interact with the rest of them. And I have to say, it's been about, what, over 10 years since we entered the time skip era. And I really think Oda has, I don't want to say dropped the ball on his handling of her, but he's done very little with her. Um, and again, this is another one of those constructive critiques. So let me also say this. If an arc does not feature Hancock at all, or very, to a very small extent, that does not mean it's bad. My favorite arc of the post time skip era is Whole Cake Island, where she's not involved with that at all, and I would still easily give it an 8 or 9 out of 10. I really liked it, um, and you probably won't find a lot of people who will say that's their favorite one. Because that arc had a contentious main antagonist who's not exactly a popular character if you go off of the popularity polls. But it is what it is. So I'm gonna try to do this in an organized manner where I go through each arc and admit the circumstances or reasons for why I think Hancock could or should have been included in a more prominent role. Um, for Fishman Island, just that whole saga of from when the time skip starts to when they leave Fishman Island after the Hody Jones debacle. I have no problem with her being, for the most part, excluded from arc. She's there at the start, but that's it. Because that arc's purpose was to reintroduce us to the 9 Straw Hats. So her not being there, I don't have an issue with in the slightest. I understand there's like certain stuff that these arcs have a purpose to do, and I was very defensive of Fishman Island at various other points, and I mentioned this in my other video. Um, Punk Hazard, I'm fine with her not being involved with that either. That arc started the alliance with Law, who, you know, plays a central role in Dressrosa and Wano as well. So again, it's more stuff where I'm content because there's other things at play, and it probably would have been too many characters because you also have to remember they had Tashigi and Smoker involved in that. Now, when you get to Dressrosa, um, to my knowledge, we've never seen Hancock fight another warlord. I could be wrong. I don't remember her fighting another warlord. I would have liked to have seen that fight between her and Doflamingo, even if it's not her directly fighting Doflamingo, like maybe have it be a double team between with her and Luffy fighting him. You know, and that's kind of the thing. A lot of people assess Hancock as being the weakest warlord, and I think it would have been really interesting to see her maybe catch wind of the fact that Luffy is in danger in Dressrosa, and then like maybe make a disguise for herself to come over there and then team up with him to fight Doflamingo and have like because we don't really get to see battle type couples. What I mean by that is we do have some occasional double battles where it's like two characters fighting one person, but I think that could have been an interesting thing. And of course you might say that might detract from Law's story, but you could easily have a Hancock versus Doflamingo fight where Doflamingo wins, or but at least is affected by her in some way that helps tilt things towards Luffy, and still have Doflamingo come off as menacing prior to him being defeated by the combination of Luffy and Law. Again, in this like altered version of events. Also, I think if you contrast, if you want another character for Hancock to fight, I think it would be interesting to see her have some kind of skirmish with Sugar, because Sugar can turn people into toys by touching them, and Hancock can turn people into stones. So you could have had a battle where maybe who gets turned into stone or into a toy first, you know, where she's like constantly trying to avoid getting touched, and then she's trying to avoid you know, getting hit by the beam that Hancock does. So that's just another idea I had. And again, these are not anything to, because I already said Dressrosa is my least favorite arc of the series. I don't think it's bad, but I don't like it as much as the others, in part due to its length and just other factors. But I think these would have been some really interesting matchups. And one of the criticisms I had of the arc was taking half of the Straw Hats out of it and then not doing things with the other members that were still there, like Robin. So, you know, I think if they did this, I would have a higher opinion of the arc because I could say, hey, look at those two cool fights that Hancock had that, you know, they're like interesting matchups, a warlord versus a warlord, and a person who can turn people into toys versus someone who can turn people into stone. So that's just my opinion of that. Now, when you get to Whole Cake Island, because again, I no problem with her not being in Zao. This is my thing. Hancock is the only female warlord, and Big Mom is the only female Yonko. I think it would have been very interesting to see the two of them interact because they're very different from each other. They contrast each other extremely well. The only thing I could say that's similar between Hancock and Big Mom is that they're both female. Hancock is seen in, you know, in universe as being extremely beautiful. Uh, Big Mom is seen as this like gluttonous, unattractive figure in universe. I really like her design. It's very unique to me. But you know, one is like this really slender kind of person. The other one's this big, towering, menacing figure. Um, and also going back to the thing of wanting Hancock to interact with the other Straw Hats, I would have loved to have seen Hancock spend some time around Sanji. I would have liked to have seen Sanji be very attracted to her and like scolding Luffy over not being nice to her, or maybe not treating her in the way that a woman should be treated, you know, because Sanji likes to have his double standards for how people should be treated. But you know, that could have been an interaction that we've never seen before. That makes total sense for those two characters. And again, if you want to set the idea of Big Mom or sell the idea of Big Mom being this big threat that Luffy can't fight on his own, have Hancock try to help him. And then they still can't do it together, but at least, you know, she gets some kicks in, or, you know, otherwise gets to participate in assisting the Straw Hats there. I think it would have been really cool to see the one female emperor versus the one female warlord. Now let's go to Wano. Now, see, one of the things people would say to me is, Hancock will never join the Straw Hats because she would lose her warlord status if she, whatever. Her island would be in peril and whatnot. So, spoilers for Wano, because there are people who haven't read that far, haven't seen that part of the series, whatever. I don't want to be, accused of ruining the show for somebody. Um, During Wano, the warlord system is abolished, which means that Hancock now has nothing to lose by assisting Luffy publicly. And I think and again, Wano is not over, so I have no complaints with the arc's usage of her currently, because she's only had like what, one panel of being involved with the series in this arc. But I think it would be very cool if, let's say, not in Wano, right? But at some point, if this is this, so again, I'll exclude Wano because I really, there's so many characters there already that I don't give Oda any flack for not using her there. But I think it would be great if they had an arc on Amazon Lily where the Straw Hats are there, maybe to avoid some threat from Blackbeard or the world or the Marines, whatever, and the Straw Hats assist the Kuja pirates in protecting Amazon Lily, and you get to see interactions between Robin and Hancock. Maybe Hancock can remark that she doesn't think any of the women there are as smart as Robin or as sophisticated in the world. Interactions between Hancock and Nami, Zoro. Maybe she can compliment him on his swordsman skills. Just I'd like to see an arc where maybe it's 60 chapters, maybe it's 70, maybe it's 80, but we get to see the Straw Hats interact with the Kuja pirates, and that relationship between Luffy and Hancock takes center stage because now that she's been removed as a warlord, her island is in trouble and the Marines are coming and other pirates are coming and invading and whatnot. But it's okay because the Straw Hats are going to be there to defend her and help her until maybe, some armistice is reached, or, something that by the end of the arc causes it to sort of go back to the way it was before. Um, I think a story like that could be very interesting, and it seems like it's been set up a little bit. Again, we haven't seen that much of Amazon Lily since the one, like, our two mentions of it during Wano. But I think an arc like that, if an arc such as that happens and it's like 80 or 90 chapters, I won't have one complaint about having to wait this long for Hancock to have a starring role in an arc. If it's just one for the pre-time skip era, one for the post-time skip era, no complaints from me. Because I think that arc would have a lot of potential to flesh out. We know that there were that between her and the older lady, I forgot her name, that was the Pirate Empress 3. She's like her great Pirate Empress, like the one that there were two between her and Hancock. We could get some background on who they were. We know how they died, but just like what kind of characters they were. We could get some development for the other members of the Kuja Pirates. We could see Luffy interact with Marjorie again, just kind of as a way of seeing how far he's progressed. Um, and maybe if this hypothetical arc does happen, we could see Hancock actually get to fight either another warlord or Yonko, and that would put to bed a lot of these claims that she's the weakest member of the warlords. Which I just get so tired of. Because it's like, what is that based off of? We don't even get to see her fight anybody, and we haven't seen her get destroyed. So I don't, you know, I think people are a little, they headcanon stuff too much. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. This is what I hope for to happen if we get additional arcs past Wano, which we probably will. I don't know how many we're gonna get, and that's why it sucks, because there are so many characters that I think just kind of sit in limbo and haven't been used for a long time. And uh, Hancock is like at the top of the list. I think she's a very interesting character that there's a lot of stuff to do with. And again, in the New World era, there's been almost nothing. So I'm hoping that we'll get some more stuff with her, either during Wano or after. But if we don't, hey, I still love the character, love the series. And these are constructive critiques. I'm not saying at all that the series is worse off because it doesn't use her as much as I would like, but I think it could really enhance itself if it fleshed out, her place of residence, which would be Amazon Lily. If we had like a second arc that was there where they actually you know, we were there for a little bit and we got to see kind of how it looks and some, you know, little interactions with the core members of her crew, but actually see interactions with the core members of her crew with the Straw Hats. I think that'd be interesting. And I'd love to see Sanji on an island of all women. That would, again, just she does a lot to kind of play into Sanji's character. So thanks for watching and have a good day.